Alright, storyteller Mitch. Seems my headphones have died out on me. I got them from the source and after receiving everything, so I guess I'll have to go back and get some. Get another pair, exchange them. A little closer so you can hear me. Chapter 4 of Queer. Friday night, Allerton went to work. He was taking his roommate's place proofreading for an English newspaper. Saturday night, Lee met Allerton in the Cuba, a bar with an interior like the set for a surrealist ballet. The walls were covered with murals depicting underwater scenes. Mermaids and mermen in elaborate arrangements with huge goldfish stared at the customers with fixed, identical expressions of pathic dismay. Even the fish were invested with an air of ineffectual alarm. The effect was disquieting, as though these androgynous beings were frightened by something behind or to one side of the customers, who were made uneasy by this inferred presence. Most of them took their business someplace else. Allerton was somewhat sullen, and Lee felt depressed and ill at ease until he put down 2 martinis. "You know, Allerton," he said after a long silence. Allerton was humming to himself, drumming on the table and looking around restlessly. Now he stopped humming and raised an eyebrow. "This punk is getting too smart," Lee thought. He knew he had no way of punishing him for indifference or insolence. "They have the most incompetent tailors in Mexico I have encountered in all my experience as a traveler. Have you had any work done?" Lee looked pointedly at Allerton's shabby clothes. He was as careless of his clothes as Lee was. "Apparently not. Take this tailor I'm hung up with. Simple job. I bought a pair of ready-made trousers. Never took time for a fitting. Both of us could get in those pants." "It wouldn't look right," said Allerton. "People would think we were Siamese twins. Did I ever tell you about the Siamese twin who turned his brother-in-law to get him off the junk? But to get back to his tailor, I took the pants in with another pair. These pants is too voluminous," I told him. "I want them sewed down to the same size as this other pair here." He promised to do the job in 2 days. That was more than 2 months ago. "Mañana, más tarde, ahora, ahorita," and every time I come to pick up the pants, it's "Todavía no," not yet. Yesterday, I had all the ahora routine, and I can't stand for it. So I told him, ready or no, give me my pants. The pants was all cut down the seams. I told him 2 months, and all you have is done is disemboweled my trousers. I took them to another tailor and told him, sew them back up. "Are you hungry?" "I am, as a matter of fact." "How about Pat's Steakhouse?" "Good idea." Pat served excellent steaks. Lee liked the place because it was never crowded. At Pat's, he ordered a double dry martini. Allerton had rum and coke. Lee began talking about telepathy. "I know telepathy to be a fact since I have experienced it myself. I have no interest to prove it, or, in fact, to prove anything to anybody. What interests me is, how can I use it? In South America, at the headwaters of the Amazon, grows a plant called yage that is supposed to increase telepathic sensitivity. Medicine men use it in their work. A Colombian scientist whose name escapes me isolated from yage a drug called Telepathy. I read all this in a magazine article. Later I see another article. The Russians are using yage in experiments on slave labor. It seems they want to induce states of automatic obedience and ultimately, of course, thought control. The basic con. No build-up, no spiel, no routine, just move in on someone else's psyche and give orders. I have a theory. The Mayan priests developed a form of one-way telepathy to con the peasants into doing all the work. The deal is certain to backfire eventually, because telepathy is not of its nature a one-way step, nor a setup of sender or receiver at all. By now the US is experimenting with Yage unless they are dumber than I think. Yage may be a means to usable knowledge of telepathy. Anything that can be accomplished chemically can be accomplished in other ways. Lee saw that Allerton was not especially interested and dropped the subject. Did you read about the old Jew who tried to smuggle out 10 pounds of gold sewed in his undercoat? No, what about it? Well, this old Jew was nailed at the airport on his way to Cuba. I hear they got like a mine finder out on the airport rings, a bell if anybody passes the gate, with an outlandish quantity of metal in his person. So it says in the papers, after they give this Jew a shake and find the gold, a large number of Jewish-looking foreigners were seen looking into the airport window in a state of excitement. Oi, get filthy fish! They are putting the snatch on Abe. Back in Roman times, the Jews rose up, in Jerusalem I think it was, and killed 50,000 Romans. The she-Jews, that is, the young Jewish ladies, I must be careful not to lay myself upon the charge of anti-Semitism, done strip-teases with Roman intestines. Speaking of intestines, did I ever tell you about my friend Reggie? One of the unsung heroes of the British intelligence. Lost his ass and 10 feet of lower intestine in the service. Lived for 4 years disguised as an Arab boy known only as number 69 at headquarters. That was a bit wishful thinking, though, because the Arabs are strictly one way. Well, a rare oriental disease set in, and poor Reggie lost the bulk of his stripes. Forgotten country, what? He didn't want any speeches, any medals, just to know that he had served. That was enough. Think of those patient years waiting for another piece of the jigsaw puzzle to fall into place. You never hear of operators like Reggie, but it is their information gathered in pain and danger that gives some frontline general the plan for a brilliant counteroffensive and covers his chest with medals. For example, Reggie was the first to guess the enemy was running short of petrol when the KY jelly gave out, and that was the only one of his brilliant coups. How about the T-bone steak for 2? That's fine. Rare? Medium rare. Lee was looking at the menu. They listed baked Alaska, he said. Ever eat it? No. Real good, hot on the outside and cold on the inside. That's why they called it baked Alaska, I imagine. Got an idea for a new dish. Take a live pig and throw it into a very hot oven so big it's roasted outside, and when you cut into it, it's still alive and twitching inside. Or if we run a dramatic joint, a screaming pig covered with burning brandy rushes out of the kitchen and dies right by your chair. You can reach down and pull off the crispy crackled ears, eat 'em with your cocktails. Outside the city lay another violet haze. A warm spring wind blew through the trees in the park. They walked through the park back to Lee's place, occasionally stopping to lean against each other, weak from laughing. A Mexican said, "Cabrones," as he walked by. Lee called after him, "Chinga tu madre," then added in English, "Here I come to your little jerkwater country and spend my good American dollars, and what happens? Insulted in a public street." The Mexican turned, hesitating. Lee unbuttoned his coat and hooked his thumb under the pistol at his waistband. The Mexican walked on. "Someday they won't walk away," said Lee. At Lee's apartment they had some brandy. Lee put his arm around Allerton's shoulder. "Well, if you insist," said Allerton. Sunday night, Allerton had dinner at Lee's apartment. Lee cooked chicken livers because Allerton always wanted to order chicken liver in restaurants, and usually restaurant chicken liver isn't fresh. After dinner, Lee began making love to Allerton, but he rejected Lee's advances and said he wanted to go to Ship Ahoy and drink rum and coke. Lee turned out the light and embraced Allerton before they started out the door. Allerton's body was rigid with annoyance. When they arrived at the Ship Ahoy, Lee went to the bar and ordered 2 rum cokes. "Make those extra strong," he said to the bartender. Allerton was sitting at the table with Mary. Lee brought the rum coke over and set it down by Allerton. Then he sat down at the table with Joe Guidry. Joe Guidry had a young man with him. The young man was telling how he was treated by an army psychiatrist. "So what did you find out from your psychiatrist?" said Guidry. His voice had a nagging, derogatory edge. I found out I was an Oedipus. I found out I love my mother. Why, everybody loves their mother, son, said Guidry. I mean, I love my mother physically. I don't believe that, son, said Guidry. This struck Lee as funny, and he began to laugh. I hear Jim Coat-chan has gone back to the States, said Guidry. He plans to work in Alaska. Thank God I am a gentleman of independent means and don't have to expose myself to the inclemencies of near-Arctic conditions, said Lee. By the way, did you ever meet Jim's wife, Alice? My God, she's an American bitch that won't quit. I never yet see her equal. Jim does not have one friend he can take to the house. She has forbidden him to eat out, as she does not want he should take on any nourishment unless she is there to watch him eat. Did you ever hear the likes of that? Needless to say, my place is out of bounds to Jim, and he always has that hunted look when he comes to see me. I don't know why. American men put up with such shit from women. Of course, I am no expert judge of female flesh, but Alice has lousy layer writ all over her scrawny, unappetizing person. You're coming on mighty bitchy tonight, Lee, said Guidry. And not without reason. Did I tell you about the wig person? He's an American hipster around town, a junkie who is said to play a cool bass fiddle. Strictly on the chisel even though he has gold, and he's always mooching junk, saying, no, I don't want to buy any. I'm kicking. I just want half a fix. I have had all I could stand still from this character. Driving around in a new $3,000 Chrysler and too cheap to buy his own junk? What am I, the Junkies Benevolent Society, for Christ's sake? This wig is as ugly as people can get. You making it with him? Asked Guidry, which seemed to shock his young friend. No. Not even. I got bigger fish to fry, said Lee. He glanced over to Allerton, who was laughing at something Mary said. Fish is right, quipped Guidry, cold, slippery, and hard to catch. Chapter 5 now. I'll continue that next time.